Why, good evening. Let's see who jumps in before I decide to go on a tirade. Oh, Mayor. Another minute, and then I'm going to start. Before I do begin, I will say, and I know people have been watching in the mornings. I've been hearing me say this a lot. Meng makes some of the best models out there. I continue to be impressed with their 1/72nd scale series of models. This is my third one that I'm working on, and so far versus the competition, not going to say that they're the most, it's incredibly detailed, but I would still say that the build on them is just so much fun. So seafood in, and then we're going to start banging it. Wow. Assuming that's floating. So, okay. Well, let's begin real quickly while we wait for some people to pop in. But I will just start with I am, once again, I think I begin every weekly session by saying I'm at a loss. Now, the funny part is I don't think I'm as much of a loss as I used to be because I'm starting to get maybe not inured to a lot of what's going on in the world, particularly with the lunacy of the administration or regime. But it's absolutely disheartening to think that in this country that we have the psychosis that's going on right now. That how we can get to a point where I was growing up. I'm not a young guy, but as I was growing up, we were always brought up with the fact that, gerrymandering is bad because gerrymandering is not democratic. And why is it not democratic? Because your politicians choose the voters as opposed to the voters choosing the politicians. And what ends up happening is as you get into certain areas, now it doesn't matter anymore what your constituency thinks, and you can just basically do whatever the fuck you want because you're always going to get elected. When you build districts that do not allow for any ability to have their membership challenged, it's a bad thing. And that, my friends, is where we are right now. That is where we are right now. Gerrymandering is straight up evil. It is completely undemocratic, unconstitutional, but more importantly, it is unpeople. It is just not right. Hey, Nick, what's going on, brother? Hey. It's just not right. I don't care what side does it, but I will once again just say there is one side that has weaponized it to a point that it is unconscionable. And it is, hold a second, I just want to make sure B14, B50. Yep. It is absolutely undemocratic. Look, You put out ideas. People like your ideas, great. People don't like your ideas, that's fine too. You try to convince people of it. What you don't do is change the rules in order to get your side to win. The example that I continue to use is the example, like sporting events. If you go to a sporting event and suddenly, you football, American football, two sides. You each have to go the full length. Well, nope. Actually, since we're winning now, we're going to change the rules. And the rules are you have to go 120 yards where we only have to go 80. Well, that's not fair. Yeah, but we've been winning. We got more points than you do. It's not fair. And especially after the game started. And unfortunately, unlike the conversation with sports, we're now not dealing with situation where it's about okay, game ends next week, we have another game. This is purely about our ability to have a democracy, about our ability to actually hold accountable the people that are in the government. When you can basically run roughshod over all of those rules and not have to be accountable, and it really is that you're not accountable, it's wrong. Gerrymandering was, I'm sure most people know what gerrymandering. Massachusetts Governor Jerry, did some shady shit to allow his party to win by reshaping maps and districts and everything like that to give an unfair advantage. And it was found wrong. I don't care which side of the political spectrum you are on. I mean that. That's up to you to decide. Do I think that there is a side that is wrong? Yep. But that's for you to figure out. But I do think that this isn't a left versus right, socialist versus capitalist. Hey, Dwayne, what's going on, man? Just saying hi out with the family. Hey, Dwayne, welcome. Hi, bye. Have fun with the family, dude. We'll catch up soon. I don't care. I don't think it's all about that. I generally feel right now, and this is kind of like the title, this is all about what's right and what's wrong. Straight up. Right and wrong. And if you believe that a president turning to you, see ya later, Dwayne. I love to your family, brother. But if you believe genuinely that changing the game halfway and having a president come out and just say, I want 5 more votes, so gerrymander the fuck out of your districts in order to get me the 5 votes. If anybody genuinely believes that that is a good thing, you're on the side of wrong. This isn't about the side of, well, it's constitutionally okay. The law says we can do it. Well, we're already in power. It is still wrong. And this is a culmination of well over 50 years of maybe not well over, 50 years of a certain conservative minority that has been angling for, we need to get into power so that we can change the tide of this country. And this is not anything, this isn't George just going on his typical rant. Oh, this is honest to God, this is fact-based. If you take a look at what happened after the 1976 elections and how Christian nationalists, Republican Party, all kind of coalesced around Reagan to create a conservative movement that over the decades, well beyond Reagan, like we moved on beyond Reagan, coalesced around we need to get into power in order to get our agenda. And now, excuse me, we're at the point where it's not just about coalescing and getting into power. Now it's about maintaining power, even if that power is anti-democratic, small d democratic. You know, in this state, for example, I've seen their Republican governors have won. I voted against them. Guess what? You're still my governor. I voted. Other people voted and they wanted a Republican in place. Great. Try again. Better luck next time. We are no longer at that place. Now it's about, I don't give a fuck what happens as long as we maintain power. And the destruction of our representative system, where we can gerrymander states to a degree where you do not have a chance to have your vote. Your vote doesn't count anymore. Honestly, your vote is kind of meaningless at this point. You can have minorities in a state, minorities by minority political ends, not minority as in people of color, ethnic backgrounds. You can have a minority party in a state or a minority ideology, literally, if it is in power to a certain degree, be able to now completely override the direction of that state, literally squeeze everything out to continue to power grab. And when you get to that point, the stuff that starts to happen becomes remarkably problematic. You know, we've already seen it with the big, beautiful bill. And we haven't even started to feel the repercussions of that yet. We will soon. As hospitals start to close, as our inflation starts to increase. Oh, by the way, but that's not even going to matter much because statistics are going to change. We'll talk about that in just a second. You know, as we continue to be gaslit by people saying, this is the best economy we've ever had. Now, here's the thing. I'm feeling a little of the economy getting worse, personally speaking. You know, I'm looking at where gas is on a daily basis, but I am looking at like going grocery shopping. It's like, fuck. Certain things are starting to go up, particularly things that are not made in this country, you know? It's like, whoa, okay. That lunch that I usually get used to be $4.50. Now it's $5.50. Okay. Or a better one, I had to turn to a client this week and say, yeah, that Samsung TV that I specified a month ago, thanks to the tariffs, that TV went from $4,000 to $5,000. So we're starting to see the destruction that a certain party is causing. And that destruction hasn't even kicked in, hasn't fully kicked in enough to, again, I'm repeating myself, to be visible. But when it becomes visible, it's going to be too late. You know, what do you mean that hospital near me is closing? What do you mean I've got all these people in my neighborhood. We voted and we don't have enough votes. What does that mean? You know, What do you mean when a state actually votes to have a certain person put into place, but they don't capture enough votes because they've been literally gerrymandered to death? And what that ultimately means in terms of what can be done in moving this country in a positive way forward. I had an interesting conversation. And, I mentioned earlier, this isn't a left and right socialist capitalist conversation. I was talking to one of my coworkers who's a lot more far right leaning than I am. He's definitely on the libertarian end of things, and with some, shall we just say, old school views on gender and people. Younger guy than me too, which is kind of scary. We're talking about college tuition. It's obscene. He was going on about the cost of college tuition, the way that we need to find ways of making colleges more affordable for just about everybody. He's going on about all of this. 14. So make sure I put the right one in there. I'm going to put the wrong seat in, but they do look the same. Yeah, they're the same. Sorry, just looking at a couple parts. And at one point, I'm listening to him. I'm like, dude, you sound like me. You sound like a socialist. He's like, no, I'm not a socialist. And what's funny is I think that was sort of a very, for me today, a very revelatory thing. And why I keep coming back to, this isn't about capitalism, socialism, Democrat, Republican, left-leaning, right-leaning. This is all about good versus evil. And right now, we're in an evil place. That we are not only seeing a president asking, like I was saying earlier, about trying to change the nature of politics in a specific state, multiples, but let's start with the big one, Texas, trying to change the politics there in order to garner seats for his party, not for the people, not for anything else. And even the Republicans in the state of Texas have said, we are doing this for our party. Okay. That's just evil. That's basically becoming completely undemocratic. Okay. So what does all that mean? So let's say we have all of this kind of happen. So what? Things start getting better, right? Let's say we have one party rule. We move in that direction. What can happen? What's going to end up happening is exactly what we're starting to see now with, and again, I'll throw this out. Anybody who genuinely believes, MSA, what's going on, man? Anybody who genuinely believes that the president of the United States and his immediate cabinet give a fuck about you, you're deluding yourself. And the reason I say that, we've seen how, and I mentioned earlier, we're firing people who are providing statistics, not just this recent thing where Trump went all ape shit and fired the head of the Bureau of Statistics, but we're firing people in other departments who are collecting data. They're going away. That means now we don't have accurate data. When you see the slashing of the VA, when you see how we're spending $400 million on a private plane, which is being taken out of an overly inflated budget for the military. When you see a department, ICE, getting so much money now and willy-nilly saying, we'll hire anybody. When all of that stuff, what's the topic? This is a politics night. What's the topic? The topic is the insanity of what's going on in the regime running the United States right now. When you have all of that, and then you have a president who basically is creating so much pain due to the tariffing, which once again, tariffs are paid by us. They're not paid by other countries. Even the fuck knuckle that runs the not him, but his Treasury Secretary has basically said, well, the companies are going to have to keep that under control, meaning the American companies that are importing stuff are going to have to keep things under control. ICE is the new USS, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Hi, George. Hello, everyone. Tony, what's going on, brother? Good evening. Politics, say less. Trump is a fuck up. He went from release the files to protect the pedophiles. We'll get into that in a little bit. That to me is an indicator of the truthfulness of that individual. But I want to start with, you have a government that's basically screwing Americans, tariffing the piss out of people. That's impacting us financially. I forgot to set my alarm this morning and overslept today. Dude, you don't have to apologize. Tony, I overslept this weekend too, which is why I was making coffee during part of the show. Dude, I've done that. Don't worry about it. You've got that going on. You've got Medicaid getting trashed. You've got all of these things that are happening. And then you have a president who's sitting on top of the White House and saying, I'm going to build this thing, and we are going to do it with gold leaf. And we're going to be able to hold all these lavish parties. Does anybody see what that means? You and I are not going to be able to walk into the White House and say, hey, I'm here to hang out at this party that the president's having. We're not going to do that. He's going to host parties for his people, the people that can afford to be there, not us. So he's at the taxpayer's expense. He is putting together this destruction of the rose garden so he can put in this concrete patio. So more people don't have to get their shoes dirty. Oh no. Okay. And you're building and you're destroying part of the White House in order to build a big fucking ballroom with all sorts of golden shit. What message are you sending to the American population? What message are you sending to the world? I mean, I can only speak for myself. The message is you're walling yourself off over there to host literally Versailles-style parties that you're going to do whatever the fuck you want. And the rest of us are going to be paying this bill, and I'm paying for it, and I don't have it. I miss hanging this morning. Yeah, dude, we're there every morning. You'll be there. You get taxed even for your paycheck. Yeah. So we've got that going on. And I'm wondering how long it's going to be before, and we're seeing a slide, right? We're certainly seeing people kind of opening their eyes up a little bit. It will, when it starts to impact people a little bit more, I'm hoping their eyes will pop open a little bit further still. You know, when suddenly it's, what do you mean the nursing home that my parents, we're sending them to, it closed? What do you mean my medication just skyrocketed? By the way, the motherfucker made promises about prescription prices dropping. I'm going to do it. He didn't. IVF. Free. Didn't do it. Promises are made to placate people. And the only promises that are kept are the ones that benefit him. So, as MSA just brought up, look, here's the thing. Did you vote for Trump? Me personally? Oh God, no. No. First of all, I'm just gonna call, I am a socialist. Okay. But I'm also a socialist who kind of like, I'm not pure into ideology. I haven't gotten here because of I've had socialism beat into me. This is just the way I see the world. My first worldview, and I've said this before, my worldview stems a little bit from my experiences in the world and my personal religion. The experiences in the world are, I see a lot of people who make a lot of money at the top and get and the people down below get fucked. And we're going to get into a little about the economics of presidencies in a little bit. And at the same time, I grew up as a Christian. I consider myself a very staunch Christian. I believe very much in Jesus and following Jesus, and he showed us the way. Not talking about the heaven part. Leave that part about. I'm just talking about be good to people. Jesus hung around with lepers. He hung around with prostitutes, and he hung around with the poor people. Okay. And the reason is, prisoners, all that. That's the kind of guy he was. Washington is a shit show for more time than I can remember. And shit rolls downhill, and I am for sure at the bottom all the time. That's the problem right there. Yeah. And just so you know, this is why it's like, to me, it's like I talk about good versus evil, not necessarily Democrats versus Republicans. Because here's the other part. The Democrats are fucked. I came this close to dropping. I'm a registered Democrat. I'm this close. I still remain this close to dropping, just becoming an independent. But I don't have a lot of love for the Democratic Party either. They're the ones partly responsible for this mess that we're in. But my religion and my personal experiences have led me to believe that, you know what? The world right now, when you have certain people in power, they create a lot more pain and a lot less benefit for the majority of us. And like I said, we're going to get into the economics in just a second, something I read earlier this week. Okay. So this guy right now has no care for us, for you. Okay. He has no care for people who are looking to have a good life, coming into this country. Many of them now here legally. Get the fuck out. Okay. He has no care for anybody who isn't of his class. And he's walling himself off and creating his little fiefdom. Because of where I've come from, I personally believe that we've got to get people into place who are going to continue to find ways of helping us move things forward. And I'm trying to focus on people I'm listening to who are not just bitching, because you can bitch about a lot of things. I like people who actually give me some real world examples of things we have to do. I was listening to something earlier this week. I fully embrace it. Community colleges, free. State-run colleges, close to free. You want to go to Harvard? Fucking pay. I don't care. Private colleges, you pay. But it's becoming to the point where we can't afford these things. Okay? I'm going to say it again. Socialized medicine. Anybody here opposed to single payer, like government-run like healthcare system? Anybody opposed to that? Okay? I'm going to tell you, I'm not opposed to that, because I have a little bit of perspective from having lived and paying for health insurance since the 1980s. And my health insurance back in the 80s, both sides lead to the same shit, same people, different faces, more taxes and more money spent on other countries, Israel. I think that is a big mistake. I agree with you on that. We'll talk about that one too. Try to talk about that one. If not, we're going to table it for next week, MSA. I agree with you completely. This is the one thing I think that Trump has done completely wrong, and it might be for the best. It's interesting. But health insurance, when I first started, I was bringing home $167 a week when I first started working at Boston University back in the late 80s. A couple months later, because I was part of a union. By the way, we need unions to return. You know, I'm absolutely appalled that Americans are completely like opposed to unions and the benefits that they can actually bring. They're here to help, but you'd rather work on a merit system because you think that you're going to rise because you're going to do better than the other people. And the answer is you're all fucked. So it doesn't work. But I was paying next to nothing for my health insurance. The university was covering a lot of it. Great. I'm sure that that's changed since. And I could go to a doctor. It was a $5 copay. And they, today, so I'd go there. Hey, I got a problem. Okay, they take a look. Anything else? Yeah, let me take a look at that. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me anything you need. You got me for half an hour with your $5. Now it's like, if you are here for anything that isn't part of this, we have to charge you a different rate. Your copay is now $25, $30, and you have to hit a deductible. This doesn't work. It is, I consider myself in a pretty good financial class based on our income, not that I feel it, but insurance is becoming so much an important aspect of whether we move to a different job. Because if I move to a different job, when my wife left where she is and where she's at right now, that costs us thousands more per year, because the insurance that I carry now for the family is ridiculously expensive, with a massive copay and a massive deductible. Why are we not doing single payer health insurance? Why are we not doing government funded health insurance? Okay, I want you to think about that one for a second. Why is the government wanting to destroy Social Security? Why is the government wanting to destroy Medicaid, Medicare? The reason is that they want to turn these things into, they want to turn it over to businesses. We don't need Social Security. Go play in the stock market. Go get a 401k. No, I want to be guaranteed a little something at the end of it. I have got 401k, and there are days when the 401k does well, and the times when it doesn't. Generally, it does pretty well, but that's not what I'm looking for. I don't want to go to fully privatized healthcare. Everything privatized. Why? Because somebody is making money at my healthcare's expense. If you were to become the president, what's the first 3 things you do change at? God. And I'm saying I can't answer that because there's so much stuff. But if I were to make changes, the first thing I think would be, I would absolutely create a single payer healthcare system. I would eliminate student debt, and I would do exactly what I described with colleges. Make them free. You want to go to a private school, that's fine. Private schools, that's a different game. But you're going to a state-run school, no, free. That would be what I would do. Try to do. So I kind of lost a little bit of my train of thought. Fine. Economics. So has anybody raise their hands, has anybody ever researched whether or not trickle-down economics work? Has anybody looked into that, read into it, or anything like that? Lower taxes, change the healthcare system, stop funding other countries. I disagree about funding other countries. I think we need to fund other countries. That's soft power. And I will tell you right now, if we don't get ourselves back invested in USAID and helping other countries, I'm not saying helping Israel, but I'm saying helping other countries through their famines and everything like that. China will. They're doing it. And now the power block shifts over to China. And China, I don't have a hatred towards China. I don't trust them fully either. Okay? So your power block moves over. That's the reason you need USAID. You need to help these other countries. It's part of your by the way, our diplomatic corps gone. Fucking ridiculous. Hey Joe, good evening. Especially Israel. Yeah, Israel is a different game altogether. And I will at the end of at the very end, that's going to be sort of like the hopefully if I remember, that'll be the bright spot that I see in all of this. All right. So economics. If you take a look at, and again, I did the research on this, looking at all the different statistics. Under which level under which party were we more able to, was the American worker or the economy able to do better in. I'm not saying this because I'm a Democrat. I'm saying this because it is statistics, facts based. In general, the economy and American workers fared better under Democratic presidents than Republican presidents, because Republican presidents have always been about trickle down economics and taking the money and let's cut the taxes for the corporations, cut the taxes for the wealthy, and all that money will kind of filter down to the little people. It doesn't happen. Corporations, when they get free money, what do they do with it? They buy something or they pocket it. Okay. The amount, the ROI of having corporations actually spend that time, the ROI of bringing in more employees, much smaller. Okay. Inflation is usually better under Democratic presidents than Republican presidents. One thing, bring production back to areas and lift the educational system. Yeah, the educational system, Joe. Yeah, fuck this sponsoring charter schools, public schools, Christian schools with public tax dollars. Build the schools that we have here. You know what? Like, again, you want to go to a private school? Fucking pay for it. You want to go to a Catholic school? I went to a Catholic school. Yeah, my parents paid for it. I wasn't expecting our tax dollars to pay for it. You know, Catholic high school, that is. I'm not Catholic, by the way. Not that I have a problem with that, because I do like Catholics. The new Pope, my God, guys, this guy has a lot of promise. Fingers crossed. Anyway, so you have all of let's see. So under Republican leadership, with deregulation, with trickle-down economics, giving tax benefits to the wealthiest, to corporations, all of that, the American worker has suffered the most. To slight degree, to massive degree. It depends on the presidency. Under this current regime, with the majority of the tax benefits, the tax breaks going to the wealthiest, and that coming out of Medicare, Medicaid, and other social programs, I'm just going to say, does anybody, I'm hoping I'm getting through to somebody on this one. Does anybody not believe that this is going to is going to be beneficial to them? Does anybody believe this is beneficial to them? Like, legitimately? Small businesses need to come back. They do. Oh, by the way, I, in some ways, believe in what Trump is saying about bringing manufacturing back to this country, just not the way he's doing it now. It's chaos. You want to bring it back in? Let's find a way of bringing it back in, 100%. But the way you're doing it right now is creating more destruction. More destruction. And by the way, just so people know, manufacturing jobs last month were down. Okay? This is coming from the guy who wants to improve our manufacturing here. He doesn't give a fuck about it. We low-key need an entirely new political party. Yeah. I think we need a new political dynamic within the constitutional framework. The Union Party needs a comeback. You know, here, okay, you know what? Actually, I'm going to challenge people on this one. I don't think we need a new party. Everybody's like, we'll start a new party and all the right people are going to find there, and it's going to be about people. It's like bullshit. We've had that before. Republican and Democrat. There was a time when you could be in one of them, and guess what? They kind of had a lot of similar ideologies. They differed in some core values. Even today, in many ways, there's not a lot of difference between the parties. It's just that the core values have gone further apart. What makes you think that starting another party is suddenly going to make things different? Anybody ever read Animal Farm? It's going to be the same pigs ruling the roost, guys. Party has been around since the Civil War. Yeah. And how many people know about it? Next to nothing. Joe, no offense. And I'm not saying it's not a good thing. I'm just saying it is remarkably ineffectual. So how is it that since the Civil War, that if it's that good of a thing, it hasn't been built up? You know, let's like the Green Party. Do I like the Green Party? Sure, shit do. But until they find a way of actually getting something going. Anyway, in fact, I would just say, fuck the political parties in general. Everybody should become an independent. And then instead of thinking about, ooh, that person's got an R after the name or a D after the name, instead, listen to what they're saying and then look at their track records to see, are they doing what they say? You know, because right now we're living in a post-factual world. Oh my God, we just created all these jobs. No, you didn't. You destroyed. No, I created jobs. Because facts don't exist anymore. So, and I've said this before. I voted for Republican here in the state of Massachusetts. I voted for a Republican governor, Charlie Baker. If he ran again, I'd fucking vote for the guy. If he ran for president, I'd be on his bandwagon. I'd be all over it. He's a Republican. Fucking great. He was a terrific governor. Was he perfect? No. But was he a great governor? Yeah. He did a lot of good for this state. Okay, I think it's time we start talking the files. Do we think that Trump went to the island? I don't know. But I will say this. This is I don't really care much about the issue. And it's not because I don't care about the victims. I care very much about the victims. I think this is just another one of those situations where everything that he is doing is to hide the fact of something. You can talk about conspiracy theories. Oh, he flew to the island. Okay, maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. I just think that if your MO has been for years, you, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, all the rest of that ilk were sitting there and saying, release the files, release the files, release. Why aren't you releasing the files? Okay, now you're in power. You've got the Congress and you're the president and you got a bunch of your sycophants in office who are like telling you to release the files. Why haven't you released the files? Well, you know, there's nothing there. When I hear stuff like that, stop gaslighting me. So what is on those files? It doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is you are trying to throw everything at this thing to prevent the release. That's, to me, it's like there's something going on there, whatever that something is. But you are also doing it to the point where you are now putting a convicted felon into a minimum security prison, allowing her to now roam to a college campus because there's no gates around this thing, you know, sit around with the students, build fluff, you know, play with fluffy little bunnies and do crocheting and all that stuff. You literally have put them into a such a low security place that it's, what do they call it, club fed. This person committed heinous crimes. Now you could just say, no, they didn't. Yes, they did. I'm one of the big, just so you know, somebody says, like we were just talking about with Trump, he's in the files. I don't know if he is or not. There's been no proof to that. I want proof, and then you're found guilty. Now it's like you're guilty. You're in. She's been found guilty on multiple counts of sexual assault. In that case, guess what? You deserve to be in prison and not in a happy place. Okay. Hey, Red, what's going on, man? Maybe there were vital political figures on that island. There might have been. I don't give a shit. Personally speaking, release the whole thing. Look, if Woody Allen was on that list, if Bill Clinton's on that list, I don't give a, if the Pope was on that list, if he actually went to that island and did what he did, all of you deserve what you get. I don't care. All that aside, to me, what is going on right now is rich people protecting rich people. In fact, what's really interesting, and this is going to come like out of fucking left field. I'm going to go. Sounds good, Red. Have a good one. This is going to come out of left field. QAnon recently came out and just said, That guy in power right now is part of the deep state. Yeah. For years, Democrats were the deep state. We're the deep state running things underground. We're drinking kids' blood because we're vampires, in pizza places. If you take a look and see what's going on right now, and this is not me justifying the stupid shit that Democrats have done over the years. I'm not saying that. Are Democrats just bad? Like I said, if Clinton's part of that, get your ass roasted. I don't care. Okay. But right now, what you have is you've got a person in power who's making billions, surrounded by billionaires and millionaires, and trying to protect a millionaire who is in jail, been sent down to a reduced place because, she's kind of cooperating because she's going to tell people what I want her to tell people. Okay. When the victims, the women, the children who are now women have come out and just said, that person did bad stuff to me. And it wasn't just one person, it was many people. Okay. So now we've got somebody over here, i.e. President of the United States, protecting this person. Again, when you hear all this stuff, does anybody, again, I feel like I have to ask, and I don't hear from a lot of people. Does anybody not look at this and just say, yeah, something's weird? You don't have to say, yeah, he's bad, he's doing something wrong, but you should at least be thinking all of these things that we've discussed, from building out the ballroom to what he's doing to protect Ghislaine Maxwell, to cutting Medicare and Medicaid, to cutting taxes for the rich, to what he's actually said to the governor of Texas to find me 5 more seats. Okay. Everybody should be saying something isn't right. That's it. Something isn't right. There's something not right here. And we're starting to hear from, I guess the good thing is, from a certain number of influencers out there. It's like, man, I got to tell you, this something's just not right here. I am hoping, and by the way, guys, and I'm sure that there's going to be a few people out here who are saying, George, you got a mad on against Trump. I didn't like Bush. I didn't like Reagan, and I didn't like Bush Sr. But I never felt like what they were trying to do. I think they were legitimately, not always right, legitimately trying to do right for people, even though they were doing it wrong because they believe in things like trickle-down economics, which it doesn't work, okay? But I think that they, in their hearts, at least believed in the American process. I don't think we have that now. I think we have a person who is more interested in power, and he is surrounded by people both within the administration and the Heritage Foundation and Christian nationalists and the rest of them who are kind of walling themselves around him, who are like, we're doing this because we are grabbing power. Okay. But I am just going to challenge everyone. And then we're going to get to the fun stuff after this. Okay. We're going to get to the one bright note, which MSA and I was hinting at to MSA earlier. I hope that people open their eyes just a little and just say, I don't agree with George, but I think he makes a little bit of sense that something ain't right. Okay. Something ain't right. So, all right. MSA. So here's the interesting thing. I have been pro-Palestinian for well over 30 years. I believe in Palestinians should have an independent state, and I do believe that a 2-state solution can be found. For many years, I also felt that the PLO, Hamas, Hezbollah, they've all done a lot of damage. I think the October 2023 situation created a lot of pain, and it instigated something that created such fury in Israel that is beyond the pale. I think that Israel now is looking at it as a mandate. Well, if they did this, we can now absolutely destroy these people. And the United States, under Biden, under Obama, certainly under Trump, because I think Trump and Netanyahu are in a permanent 69 position. But under current regime, I think Netanyahu has been so emboldened by Trump that he is in power and he loves him so much that he was able to attack Iran. We backed him on it, that he is now looking at what they can do to make Gaza into something that's for Israel. And because Trump is pushing so hard, you've got a lot of countries that are saying, you know what, we're going to declare a Palestinian state. If you don't do something, we're going to declare it. So there will be a legit. So the one good thing is it almost feels like we're taking a step back with what's going on. And don't get me wrong, the killing of children, of innocents in Gaza, in the Palestinian territories is unconscionable. It is genocide. Okay. But it is being pushed to a degree that I genuinely believe that the issue is now coming to the forefront, and we will hopefully see in my lifetime a true Palestinian state. I hope. Because I think countries are now starting to talk about it in a way they've never done before. And for that, we have to thank the orange fuck in the office, because he's pushing the other way. These countries are going this way. And I appreciate that a lot. He's just now saying that the files are not that important after getting elected. Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. He's lied. First of all, MSA, real quickly. I mean, anybody really surprised? He lied to get into office. He said whatever people wanted to hear in order for him to get into office. Shocking. Palestine wasn't there to begin with, though. Republicans have always hated the Muslims. I don't think that's true. I don't think Republicans have always hated Muslims. I think that's a mischaracterization. I think that, as an example, I think that what's his name? I think he loves the Muslims. Trump loves Muslims. They just gave him a big fucking plane. He's talked about Qatar and the and Saudi Arabia and the UAE. He loves them because they're rich people and they give him really expensive shit. He loves them. So, no, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. And there are just as many people on the left who have maybe not a hatred towards Muslims, maybe, if you're hardcore, lefty, with an Israeli background, you may not have a lot of love you might be a complete lefty in so many different ways, but you have a complete distrust of Palestinians. He loves them for the money. Well, remember, he's transactional. So anyway, my hope is, and this is the bright spot in all this, is Trump is fucking this up so badly that we may actually have a Palestinian state. Let's hope. So, all right. Before we go, I am going to try to glue one part on. So that way, and I might even sand it just for Nick. That way people will say, okay, he at least built something. Good. Do I want to do that one? Yeah, we'll do that part. So with that, just no Palestinians to fill it at this point. Drop a like, people. I appreciate it, MSA. Thank you. Just no Palestinians to fill it at this point. I'm not sure I understand that comment, Dwayne. I'm sorry. Guys, I I appreciate that there's a lot of people who kind of tune into this and on a weekly basis and kind of like listen to me blither. And I every now and then I kind of wonder, it's like people don't chime in, but I'm not sure if I'm saying stuff that's pissing them off, if they don't like. At some point I wouldn't mind getting a little bit of feedback from somebody. I'm not looking to challenge people on their views. It's to fill it at this point. Not enough Palestinians. Not enough Palestinians where? I'm sorry. So I hope what I'm saying is something that kind of makes sense a little bit. Guys, I'm not, like I said, and I've said this multiple times, I'm not looking to change your mind on anything. You have to change your mind. I'm hoping at least that if you start paying attention a little bit to what's going on out there, and as I said before, Americans are idiots. Americans don't read anymore. We like to have things blithered at us, and that's how we get our information, and we trust unfactual sources. But I'm hoping, and I don't want you to take my word for this. Do what I do. Do the research. You hear something? Statistics. The statistics I threw out about Republican versus Democratic administrations isn't something that I made up. I said, okay, let me look and do some reading here. And that is generally the consensus. Okay? So, with that, as are basically starved out in debt, and you can have a Palestinian state, but you need Palestinians for it. Gaza is completely obliterate. Yeah. Well, there will be a time where we're going to have to rebuild that. And I think what's going to be funny, Trump thinks he might be the one to move in there and do it. I think it might be the Europeans or even China. That would be a surprise, wouldn't it? Anyway, so with that, my friends, sounds like my wife just got home, so I'm going to head upstairs now. So, guys, I'll be back. First of all, I want to thank everybody for listening, and I appreciate that a lot of people chime in. I would love to hear from more people, but I understand this is not always an easy topic for a lot of people to listen into. But I want people to understand. I say this because I've been around the block a little bit. I love people, not all of them, not on every moment, but I love people, and I love to see. I want to truly live in a world that was shown to us, which is show people love, don't hate people, don't kill people, don't treat them like shit. Same time tomorrow. Glad you for your time. I had fun. I appreciate it, MSA. Same time tomorrow, not at 7 p.m., 6 a.m. only. I only do this time slot on Thursdays when I don't have other obligations. Later, missed the whole talk. I was on the phone. Funny. But here's the thing, guys. Go out there and do good. Stay safe and stay sane, but go out there and show love and respect for people. Every human deserves a certain level of dignity, of being treated with a level of respect. Okay? Don't vilify, don't degrade, don't denigrate, don't treat people like crap. Don't try to take away their rights because you think you deserve power more than they do. Not the way of the good. The good is go out there and show love for other people, even when it sometimes means the sacrifice for yourself. Go out there and do good. Brighten the world as much as you can, guys. I'll be back on tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time. I'll be back doing this, theoretically, next Thursday. Theoretically. Okay? Do good. Enjoy. Love you all. Peace.